Привет, стендов. Следующий доклад представит мой коллега Дмитрий.
Hi, standoff. And our next speaker is Mr. Dmitry Kurbatov with 5G and how to protect it.
Everyone, hello colleagues. This is Dmitry and Milan today with you. Hello. If you see this record, it means that we have chosen to do the pre-recorded presentation. So on Monday, when you will be watching this video, we will be watching the live chat. We are ready to answer your questions, so please, you're welcome. And the topic today is about protecting 5G. So we will cover a few topics, a few points here about 5G, brand new vulnerabilities, how to protect, how to address and mitigate these issues. And for the very beginning, just a little bit info about speakers. Milan, over to you, please.
Yeah. My name is Milan, and this is my second season in PT. And my role is to address both sales with their technical queries and the same way to meet all the customer requirements when going to deal with the new opportunities.
Okay, thank you. And you're very professional, so it's our pleasure to work with you, Milan. My name is Dmitry. I'm at Positive Technologies for 10 years already. I started as a security expert, and my main areas of, let's say, interest was networks, IT, telecommunications. Starting 2018, I was promoted to CDO at Positive Technologies. So right now I'm responsible for product development, services, almost for everything. So today with Milan, we will cover the following agenda.
Yeah, we are going to give you a few good reasons why to consider the 5G security. Then we try to show you, I don't know, one or two scenarios how hackers can possibly hack 5G. And then to summarize everything and to close the circle, we try to outline how 5G might be protected to avoid these kind of issues.
Exactly. And since Milan is a pre-sales engineer, he will be doing really good job, if not directly advertising products and services. So we'll talk more about research, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So 5G. Probably for almost last 1 or 2 years, we hear how vendors side by side, they do announce their various kind of 5G projects, visions, and together with these 5G announcements from MNOs, it's very clear that 5G in a sense touches all of our daily routine.
Yeah, you're right, Dmitry. I've got the same feeling, actually. It's similar to, for example, LinkedIn, when almost everywhere we can see new features and how 5G changes our lives entirely. And I read many articles that everything is going to be super fast, reliable, with ultra low latencies and secure. But the main question is this really true? Don't they consider only the bright side of 5G?
Well, it depends, Milan. And let's have a look at a few examples from maybe near future. Let's see. So the first one example is about connected cars. It's a big business for sure. And this connectivity will definitely be a good thing because it will allow vehicles to interact with the cloud, with each other, with the road infrastructure, making the roads itself safer, allowing traffic to flow more easily and making driving more comfortable.
Yeah, always when seeing this picture, I'm asking myself whether I can imagine autonomous car in hacker's hand. I really don't want to let my kids to have a ride in such buses unless someone really ensures me that it is more than 100% safe.
Mm-hmm. So this is a question about the trust for these technologies. And what you're talking about, the hacking the autonomous cars, this is definitely what public safety bodies need to take care of. But we are now more talking about the connectivity, and probably it will be critical for V2X use cases where when the car is communicating to different pieces of the infrastructure around.
Yeah, correct.
So the second case is about healthcare.
Yes. And when you study some articles and you read it carefully, they all have something in common. They mention these aspects when we spoke about this on the previous slide, like latency, speed, etc., very detailedly. But if you search for terms like security and etc., simply they have it in one sentence. And I always ask myself, isn't just security the most important item from to-do list?
Well, it's a good question, and it depends on the which ground you're standing on, because we all want to have the greatest and the most powerful 5G. But if you take it from the other side, we know that hackers are constantly attacking social media, bank accounts, and the question is, can be different. Do we really want to live in a world where security doesn't play the major role?
Probably, personally, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to close this Express security story, this is what we can jointly call the super cool applications, which make our lives and should make our lives easier. Something like smart IoT egg control.
Maybe there can be, I believe there is some award for the most dummy application of technologies. Probably this is the one of the winners for this year. But this is all kidding, but Microsoft probably announced acquisition of this company already. So yes, there are different use cases how to apply and use 5G. But who knows what will fly and what will die, right?
Definitely, I can agree with you.
So, about these figures, what do you think, Milan? This is your slide. Yeah.
Yes. This is a typical statistic. I like personally numbers. So, looking at these 2 aids from the recent Global Identity and Fraud report, and this reminds me that my mom probably belongs to the remaining 12% group. Typically, many of users simply don't want to accept the new and safer ways. For example, avoiding two-phase authentication, replacing by the native application on Android or iOS. Someone can simply say, okay, this is too much for me. I don't understand it. I'd rather use the standard SMS way.
Reality is that exceptions are everywhere. And the simple fact is that security can't be procrastinated anymore, because things got, but right now the public awareness of the existing breaches, money loss, etc. Today, even non-professionals, they do understand and feel positively when their service providers are being improved in terms of security.
I can agree on this, definitely.
Yep.
So until now, it was some warm-up. So you could browsing your mailbox, etc. But right now, please pay 7.5 minutes of your attention.
You think it will be that fast? 7 minutes. Okay, let's try to do it. So this is something, this is something we are going to show for the first time.
Yes, and probably you said it at the very beginning that this is something what has born from the research, and this is something what we already did catch or better discover recently.
And we are going to, so in few words, we are going to demonstrate and to prove that 5G shouldn't be considered as a bulletproof technology. And we will explain why redundancy. Sorry for this, why dependency. I always forget about this word. Why dependency on previous generations affect and even 5G standalone deployments.
Yeah, redundancy as well, very important in terms of reliability. But in other words, I would say the general backward compatibility between different generation versions might kill the built-in 5G security.
Yes, this is the point. But today, our proof of concept is not about backward compatibility. This is purely about the 5G standalone, the brand new independent core network.
Yeah, correct. And this slide describes our 5G testbed, or at least this is the block schema of the 5G.
Exactly. So here I'll use a laser pointer. Tell me if you can see it. Do you?
I
No,
don't
any laser pointer on my?
know.
This is it.
Ah, right now, right now.
So maybe some delay. Okay, so this is a test bed for our 5G testing. We have the user equipment, we have the 5G base station, we have the special node called UPF, user plane function, which is actually kind of a router connected to the internet or any packet data network on one side and to the base station on the other side, on the other interface. We have this session management function, the node responsible for actually creating the session, allowing the UPF to switch on the internet or switch it off, and also some kind of the control plane function, AMF and UDM. I'm not going to waste time right now explaining the functional roles of these devices. This is just a kind of the mandatory nodes for the 5G core network, as well as some kind of security proxies here on the right, which is called the security edge protection proxy, and UPF, IP, UPS, some kind of security devices. We do not really care about it at the moment. So
Yeah, till now it was simple, but right now you made it more complicated. Probably you add something or
yeah, you're right, Milan. I just added, 4G parts for our non-5G roamers. Simply all the functions which are used today in the LTE network. LTE base station, LTE user equipment, and some core network nodes, which are responsible for actually handling the major core network functions for the evolved packet core.
yes. So this is, let's say, some we can call it, let's say, threat vectors, or let's say we can move it to threat vectors and describe it.
Exactly. Right now, let's say this slide is a more real life deployment of mobile network, because it's hard to imagine that some 5G networks will be deployed just like this in the, in the complete absence of any other technologies. Probably LTE network will be already there and 5G will be created in parallel. So regarding the threat vectors you mentioned, historically, mobile network operators usually treated their own subscribers as one of the main threat vector because of huge amount of threat cases that subscribers can create. Not usual subscribers like us, but bad guys. And three other vectors is for sure it's internet, 5G roaming, not yet existing, and LTE roaming via diameter.
Yeah. I would summarize it probably because I mean the message of this picture is that your brand new 5G standalone network must open a lot of doors, as you said, to the internet. But this is obvious. We want to have internet, but the others are 5G roamers. Not sure if there will be any 5G roaming till 2025, according to some research. So this is for first. And the third, then there will be definitely, I mean, the huge demand on the LTE roaming via diameter.
Exactly. So let's we try to explain how this all works together, just in order, for just to show it to you actually. Right now, let's try to imagine that our test subscriber, this guy, at the same time he's the victim, he will try to download something from the cloud, for instance. How does it look like?
Yeah, this is, I think, the most easiest way how to introduce any communication from user equipment to the network. And this is, I think, the aim of this is to download any content. So you request a service, or the subscriber is requesting the service, and in return, he receives, or he or she receives the response with the desired content.
Nothing more. You're completely right. Now let's see if there is a cyber criminal who can modify in any way and change the serving G node B. So the attacker who is trying to introduce the main and the middle attack.
Yes, that's correct. So it means that if this happens, then all the data comes through attacker's G0 B before it gets into the subscriber phone. It looks like pretty easy.
Exactly, exactly. So how it works? The bad actor actually need to exploit some vulnerabilities in the PFCP protocol, which is in use for the control plane communication between all of the network functions inside the network. So he can easily take over control or spoof the session management function and make UPF believe that he, the bad guy, is the new session management function. So he can send all the kind of instructions towards the UPF. For instance, to say, please modify the session and change the serving G0 B. It does make sense, isn't it? Subscriber, he's a mobile guy, he roaming around, so he can be, served by this base station or that base station. So this is exactly what the bad actor is trying to achieve.
Yeah, if I may add something, it simply tries to fool the network that there is another G node B. And if this happens and it is applied, then simply the end subscriber doesn't notice anything. And suddenly his or her data are being browsed by this guy.
Exactly. And the final flow, it can look like depicted on this picture. Yeah, there should be some.
And probably the most important thing is that the black G node B doesn't have to be really the G node B itself. It might be probably any piece of hardware pretending to be G node B, but still, as you can see, the communication is going up to the real G node B, and this is the magic.
Yeah, you're totally right. So here, the node named as black G node B on the picture, it doesn't have to be the radio equipment with the real antenna and baseband unit, nothing like this. This is just a kind of the fraudulent proxy, which is used in order to make the man-in-the-middle attack, and that's it. As soon as the traffic received from the original UPF, the fake G node B, let's call it the black proxy, will simply send this message directly to the serving G node B and directly to the consumer, to the subscriber, and that's it.
Yeah, very simple. So I think this is the right time to demonstrate this attack from another pre-recorded session when we are going to show you how it might look like.
Exactly. So maybe it's worth also announcing one thing, that this all information is, let's say, will be explained in more details in the research, which should be released a little bit later, probably in the middle of December, about the 5G standalone vulnerabilities. Yeah, and this should answer more questions if there are any. So let's proceed to the POC that we recorded for you in order to explain how it actually works, not in real life, in a test bed, but how it works technically.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Milan, you please tell me if you can see the video and if it is working, okay?
Let me check. It's there, but it is not moving yet. So you can.
I'll try to switch it on. Yeah, now it works. So
now it works.
Okay, I'll explain what's happening. So right now we see that the lab network is launching. This is the screen of the target of a victim's mobile phone. We just make sure that it is actually running and it has internet connectivity via our testbed network. And right now, what we're trying to do is the attacker is actually starting some PFCP exploit in order to intercept victims' internet connection. And right now in the Wireshark window, you can see that the internet section is being intercepted, and attacker will try to export the recorded data from the raw traffic in order to find out what actually was intercepted. So let's see if we succeeded with this attack. We will save all of the data through the data stream to the hard drive and see what's there. Now, so attacker is exporting the data, and we see that almost the same data, not almost, the same data we can see on the victim's use equipment and on the attacker's host. What does it mean? Well, actually, it means that attacker successfully intercepted the entire downlink session from some server in the internet and to the user equipment. So at this stage, the main in the middle attack is actually completed. So do you like it, Milan, or not?
Personally, I don't. I really don't want to share any very secret content with you or with any other hacker.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of the impact, because let me talk about this slide. I mean, to summarize it, man-in-the-middle attacks come in two forms. One that involves the physical proximity to the intended target.
Yes. This is sorry for interrupting you. This is what always come to your mind when you hear about hacking of mobile technologies, because this is somewhere in radio. Yeah, it does make sense that the attacker needs physical proximity. You're right.
Exactly. But this one, it involves the exploitation of core functionality over the network, which means remotely. So hacker can be far away from you or from any other victim. So broadly speaking, man-in-the-middle attack is the equivalent to a mailman or opening your bank statement, for example, writing down your account details, and then resealing the envelope and delivering to your door. Something like this.
Yes, very good example, very good example. And the last one is that, unfortunately, this type of attack, as truly mentioned by Milan, it's remote via network. So attacker can be far away from the victim. It doesn't require physical proximity. The attacker can get access to the data destined to the victim. And this attack leaves almost no traces. And victim wouldn't be able to find out if his or her data were ever intercepted and were ever used against her personally or her employee, nothing like this.
Yeah, and generally speaking, I mean, these cyber criminals typically execute man-in-the-middle attack in two phases. I think this is obvious. Interception, what you have just seen, and the decryption, if there is anything to decrypt.
Exactly. I think we will see this type of question in a live chat window. You're completely right. Interception requires decryption afterwards, because right now, almost 99% of the traffic is encrypted with TLS and so on. Here in this example, it was a testbed, so we use unencrypted web traffic just for the simplicity. But I think the decryption is another task. Right now, the goal of this exploit was to show that for a bad actor, there is an ability to intercept data on the downlink of the 5G network. And this is important. Traffic, confidentiality, integrity is another topic, also important one, but out of this the scope of current discussion, I would say.
Yes, correct. The first step is always starts with the interception.
Exactly.
Then, if you move on the slide, I think. Okay, it's here. Oh, sorry. Sorry, there was a slide. Sorry, there was a slight delay. So thank you for this. I would say that the first demo was not too bad. I think I can see this guy coming again. So according to the let's say the title, we can expect some DOS attack.
Exactly. Denial of service attack can have very heavy negative impact on organizations and how they run their business, specifically in a connected world. And unfortunately, this is exactly the case. So let me show it to you.
Yeah. So you are sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
You are saying that this guy, we can call it ugly guy, can, for instance, delete my existing session while sending the modify session command to PGWU?
UPF. I have no idea what is PGWU. It's used plain function.
Sorry,
yeah,
sorry.
But you're right. The logic is similar. So the hacker exploited the lack of, let's say, authentication in PFCP protocol in order to take over and spoof the session management function and to send direct instruction towards the user playing function.
Yes.
In order to modify session and send a command to delete the session for the exact customer, for exact subscriber, exact user equipment. What happens after this? The network will literally forget about this user equipment, just like the user disappeared. And as you can understand, at this point of time, the user equipment is still there in the network. Simply UPF doesn't treat it as an active subscriber anymore. Okay,
Wow.
you got it?
Yes, I got it. So it means I'm out of the coverage, or at least out of the internet.
It's even more interesting. You're still under the coverage. Your phone will show that you're connected to the base station, but there will be no session for your internet connectivity between base station and UPF.
That's
So
perfect.
the chain is broken somewhere in between.
Okay, I understand. So, meanwhile, beside everything, what should I do to fix it? Should I restart the phone? How to fix this situation if I realize that this is not true?
Yes, if it is a one-time attack, probably you will have to switch on and off data or switch on and off the airplane mode, or maybe even reboot the device. But
so re-registration is the answer.
Yeah, exactly, registration. But if the attack is continuous and the bad guy is continuously deleting your session, then you will be, in the trouble. You will simply waste time trying to reboot your phone. Immediately after this, you will be disconnected once again.
Personally, I find this much more worse than the previous man-in-the-middle attack.
It simply affects different, pillars of the information security. The previous one is about confidentiality and integrity. This one is about availability.
Availability.
Yeah. So let me show you the proof of concept of the exploit. Once again, here on the left side of the screen, this is the screen of the target, the victim. In the middle and on the right, you can see the network itself and the attacker's host. Well, let me switch it on. Okay, so once again, the lab network is launching. It's all software-based, virtualized. Thank God it's 5G. Right now, we're making sure that the phone is actually connected to our network, not to Wi-Fi. Okay, and we can see on the right that the guy is actually connected to the network. Just for the sake of the experiment, we will launch some streaming application and start some video. And the hacker will start the PFCP exploit in order to delete victim's session from UPF. And it just, 2 messages. It works immediately. Victim's internet connection will be, let's say, stopped immediately. So the network is down and the DOS attack is completed. So it's really simple, I would say. In the same manner, that guy can commit, the massive attack for the huge amount of subscribers or the huge amount of UPF simultaneously. So it's not the matter to switch off internet connectivity for one guy, but you can do it simultaneously for thousands or tens of thousands, for a lot of people.
Yeah. So it means that once we have a procedure for DOS attack, we can simply improve it to the distributed DOS attack. And let me finish this or summarize it. DOS attacks in general mostly affect the organizations and how they run in a connected world. That's obvious. So in this case, if 5G...
Maybe I can give you an example why it is
sure.
very sensitive for organizations. Because right now, let's say 9 out of 10 5G deployments, they sell as the first service the fixed wireless access. Do you know what fixed wireless access? This is actually when...
You can remind me.
Yeah, so this is actually when MNO is giving you a kind of the USB dongle, and this is supposed to be used, you plug it into your Wi-Fi router, and you use it as a broadband connectivity to the internet, just like with a copper or with the optical cable. So this is why it's called fixed wireless access to substitute cabling and all that stuff should be very useful for remote branch offices, for connectivity inside home and so on. So imagine this is a fixed wireless access and it is used to connect remote branch or some field station, and it will be disconnected immediately. There can be many examples like smart energy, smart logistics, smart cities. ATMs are connected via this type of technologies. Point of sales terminals, security and surveillance. All of these companies may be affected and will lose control over their infrastructure and over a huge amount of assets. So they will lose the ability to run their main business functions. Don't you think so?
Yeah, that's strange because when I'm thinking about this, the DOS attack can be used to masquerade another illegitimate activity. More we rely on these kind of technologies, which is perfect. I think what you said, I mean the 5G fixed wireless access, it's perfect solution for many other organizations and firms. But probably more we rely on these technologies, the less we think about the backup. And as you said at the very beginning, redundancy. People think it's supposed to be done by default, but if Shaker is still stealing your data or your money, and what want you to be out of reach, DOS is a perfect masquerade, let me repeat again, for this activity.
Exactly. And you know, you're totally right saying that consumers, both, you know, B2B or B2C, they treat the technology should be, let's say, always available by default, so redundancy should be built in, and so, and it's there. We simply see that there are some issues, and it's not the matter of redundancy. This is the matter of exploitation of some, let's say, deficiencies in the architecture, in the protocols, in the solutions, which bad actors can exploit.
Yeah,
so,
it reminds me that, I don't know, I read one research, by the way, that 1/3 of all vulnerabilities belong to the configuration issues.
Well, it depends on industry, because for enterprise, for instance, it's more than 70%.
More than 70, wow.
Yeah. I may be mistaken, but you can browse in other sessions on the standoff. Probably the new statistics should be there.
Okay.
So, why?
Yes, why? Good question. When I saw this for the first time, I was really shocked. Probably you are so right now, but your valid and obvious question is really why? Why this is possible? And we try to answer this. Here are the 3 major factors.
And the first of the factors is the protocol in use, called PFCP. And looking at PFCP specification, we can say that it is a cousin of the older GTP protocol with all of the, let's say, deficiencies and flaws. So we don't have time to be more specific, but it's strange how the industry repeat same mistakes once again.
Not only industries, we are human, we do the same also in our private lives, I would say.
Industry is us, yes.
Yes. So this was the first point. The second one is the fact that many of these attacks in general are possible due to misconfiguration. I said it a minute ago, or the default settings. Here I would pause because I think this is clear that you can really now think how many of you, gentlemen and ladies, or ladies or gentlemen, have changed the configuration of your home Wi-Fi router, for instance. How many of you? So this is about the configuration and hardening our assets, I would say.
Maybe a lot of people in this exact audience, probably people change default passwords, but for
yes,
quite an audience, it may be different, right? Okay, and the third aspect, but also very important one, we touched several times today already, that 5G standalone won't work in the nearest future alone without any other generations working in parallel.
Yes,
right?
I can't imagine isolated 5G these days. By other words, we can say that 5G will always be running side by side with, for example, the previous LTE generation. No separation happens in the near future.
Exactly. It's really small figures here, but the green area indicates the bandwidth consumption using the LTE technology, and the orange one is using 5G. As you can see, today in the 2020, the consumption of bandwidth using the 5G technologies is minimum. But look how the situation changed in 5 years. We will see the growth in adoption of 5G for sure, but still a huge amount of bandwidth will be by the LTE technologies. So these two technologies will work simultaneously for many years, maybe for decades to follow.
Yes, you're right. And to make the transition between the previous section and the upcoming, we put this slide. Simply, it can be explained that every bad event can be answered from two different angles. Am I right?
Exactly. The question is in which type of audience which type of the audience you belong to, the group of optimists or group of pessimists, right?
Yeah.
So for me personally, it doesn't really matter because it will only help you to accept the simple fact that there is a Murphy's law and it works. And what can we say?
Yeah, it works like in this picture. So probably no one from us want to be like this beaver.
Yes, but we should always remember that whatever can happen will happen, probably. So we need to get prepared. Not to be afraid of this, but try to be prepared.
Definitely. Preparation is the must these days. So anyway, until now we presented how it can work. Maybe it will work in the real life. I don't know in the near future. Well, now it's the time to say and show you if this can be somehow addressed and what MNOs should apply, what are the further, let's say, attacks or not sorry, activities on their 5 mission.
The answer is definitely yes. There are ways to address this. And this is good because 5G is reality today. It's not a test bed and type of the future technology. It's there. So none of the industry players will tolerate if we simply explain horror stories without proposing anything. So we will try to propose something, right?
Yeah, right. So generally, I think this should be addressed by security guys mainly. I mean, this is the starting point for them.
Yes, and this is good that you mentioned security guys because nowadays the telco industry is really changing and doing it rapidly. We see the convergence of telco and IT technologies, which is good. So right now, the IT security teams are taking responsibility for telco assets as well.
Yes, but I think these guys probably need any help or advice simply to gain some experience from the telecom security experts in the field.
Yes. Usually security guys from IT are very experienced, which means they should start, and they are starting with some kind of tried and tested approach, like NIST, for instance, right? So how it works? Obviously, to assess the network, to get visibility, to understand where the company now and what the good looks like. This is the info which is mandatory and which is required for the cybersecurity planning. For sure, for 5G, it's mandatory. Cybersecurity planning for such a big amount of assets, probably a lot of efforts and a lot of money needed, right?
Yeah, right. Perfectly makes sense, I would say. And next, I think logically, it would be to start any kind of threat detection and plan the response because the security monitoring should be the essential way to provide the rapid detection and ways for the mitigation.
Usually after this, organizations they try to proceed with some kind of weighted and efficient protection in order to secure the network address real threats, not hypothetical one, and mitigate only business critical risks, because otherwise it would be too expensive, I think.
Yeah, correct. And then we can try to avoid probably the manual work. So more automation, more continuous security testing, and the vulnerability management for the telecom assets will be fine.
Yes. And of course, after this, a lot of work, a lot of jobs to be done, like onboarding, for instance, telecom security monitoring into the security operations center, to train staff to monitor security posture for the network infrastructure, which is not a common thing today, by the way, to develop and apply security controls for the network elements, to deploy the security controls, to deploy security measures and verify compliance, to maintain the current security posture achieved with so much efforts, right? And if one day, if you are pushy enough and you're lucky, then probably you will be able to run the entire risk assessment, including telecom infrastructure. Because right now, the telecom amount of assets are usually kind of in the gray area. People are doing risk assessment for the back office and for the marketing, accountants, for this type of the enterprise network users, but they forget for some reason about the huge amount of telco assets.
Definitely. And looking at this slide, I think there is a pretty long journey for the operators. And probably this might facilitate also the top management involvement to help them understanding the role, the exact roles of the cybersecurity, plus boost customer trust and business partner confidence, which might be very important these days.
I would say that customer trust is one of the most important topics, especially in, let's say, in the major environments, in the major societies, even I would say. But you wouldn't expect 5G, you know, in the third-party world. It's too early, right, to deploy 5G there. But in the rest of the countries, yeah, people demand a lot. They want to have trusted technologies, and they understand that they rely so heavily on it. So the technology should be trusted.
Definitely, it should.
Yeah. Now let's try to be more specific, because this the previous slide was a little bit maybe complicated. So talking to any mobile network operator around the globe, you will meet at least 3 of these 4 domains, which are actually compose the entire telco infrastructure. And these are the most costly and critical assets for each telco company.
Yes, and regardless, we are talking about any of these 4 defined areas, MNOs can address the security not only done by the services, for example, but also they may grab for any kind of products available in the market.
I told you so, Milan, it will be really hard for you to escape this trap of not advertising anything specific, but you always made it. You always made it. So once again, let's come back to the research topic. Tried and tested approach. And first things first, to know what to protect, you need to see it. And very good approach is to run different types of vulnerability testing. It can be different, right?
Right. Yes. I would start with the, let's say, access part, because there are hundreds, maybe thousands of base stations in the wild. So I would run it for the core also then, because it is 100% exposed to the IPX, definitely. Then operators can focus on the virtualization infrastructure, because probably these days operators are thinking really seriously about the virtualization, if not yet implemented. And because the vendors deliver it typically as a black box. So here you are, and this is unacceptable from security point of view. Simply accept something from third party, from your vendor, even trusted vendor, but still not clear way how to deliver the new virtualization infrastructure. And then once we have a talk about 5G, we have a MEC, if there is any, because no one won't. I personally I don't. So
I
do you
hope
know
someone,
what?
I hope
Do you
someone
know?
knows.
Yeah, someone probably knows. But since this is a new element, probably this needs to be investigated.
Yes, yes, and you're completely right that let's say the scope for vulnerability assessment for identification of different type of the cybersecurity issues is huge, and there are but you can find usual stuff there. You can find software vulnerabilities, you can find lack of architectural security, you can find lack of security policies or misconfigurations and so on. And this is really good that today there are a bunch of tools and approaches and methodologies to do this job. You can use manual audit, you can use automated fast testing, you can use fully automated vulnerability identification. All of these subset of approaches and technologies should help to find these issues on each piece of the infrastructure. And once you know what's the, let's say, what's the problem, or where is the potential problem, you can ask yourself what's next and how to address these issues.
Yeah, this is a very good question. You said it perfectly. There are tools how to identify something, and then we can address it. But definitely, before from operator point of view, before I apply something, I want to say that security must be non-intrusive for my telco world. Networking guys confirm this. They are responsible for these 5 or 6 nines uptime of the network, best service, best speed, and security simply must support this, but not being an obstacle in the matter of reputation, reliability, etc.
This is a very good point. Security should be supportive and not being an obstacle. And why one of the ways to start it is with getting visibility of what's happening in the wild. And we already know pretty much about weaknesses, but we simply cannot escape from it immediately. Never, never. Can we patch all of the unpatched systems? Of course not that fast. Can we ask for security hot fixes from any vendor? Well, they will probably reply, we already implemented Agile Scrum, but now please have a seat and wait. We will put it in our roadmap. So during next release, which we have almost 2 during the year, you will get it. But you have to wait. The same, can we apply some configurational changes to make the network more robust? Not specifically. First, security guys need to assure network team that this kind of the configuration can actually be implemented and wouldn't introduce any negative impact to the network, to the service, to the whole bunch of, let's say, things. So we have a lot of constraints for the security.
Yeah, you're right. And this was a typical dialogue between companies and MNOs. I think perfect imagination how it works in reality. But definitely, there must be something, or there are some procedures which can work in this tough environment. Simply, as you said, and this slide talks about it, this is the threat detection and planning the responses. Because, as you said, security monitoring is probably the essential to provide the rapid detection and mitigation.
Yeah, because it does absolutely no sense to try to create proactive protection via building borders, installing too many, border elements, firewalls. The networking services are already, exposed more than ever before, and having visibility over this amount of comprehensive ecosystem is the only way to enforce control and protection.
Yeah. So it means at the end, and we said it at the beginning, is the protection. We just still need it.
Of course, we still need protection. But please, how to say, do not be confused with protection as a function. It should be a goal. And protection can be achieved in many ways. And it is namely the mission for the good security guy. to find the most effective, applicable to this exact environment and cost-efficient solution.
Okay, so in this case, when looking at this slide, we can see it can be, for example, patching and verification, if we talk about the access, or as we spoke about this, hardening and here also the compliancy. Then we have a design review, something like this, and security requirements, or traffic filtering and continuous fine-tuning, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And all this can take place where appropriate and when it is appropriate.
Yes, this is complete mixture of different mitigation techniques. And you should use the whole variety of available tools, processes, and procedures and apply it accordingly in a smart way. So, probably we come to the final slide of our presentation, and I hope that we, at least on the high level, with some basics examples, we were able to explain why 5G security is so important. I hope our proof of concept was convincing enough. If not, please let us know. And as I said, the more comprehensive research will be released really soon. And one of the most important part about how to address these issues and the approach that we think is the most, let's say, real life and working approach is that security should be just enough to do the main jobs and to help with the most important tasks. It should be, of course, it should be cost efficient, because it's the only way that security can be complementary to the overall telco business and to help with adoption of 5G technologies. And of course, today, it should help to create trust and assurance in technology.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not, it was not so bored, sorry. I was just thinking about what you are saying, Dmitry. Yes, so probably from our point of view, I mean, many people already share this vision, and I would say what we demonstrated in the previous slide, this comprehensive activity includes wide range of tasks and which can span all the areas critical to the telecoms today. Just to summarize it.
Mm-hmm. And of course, today it's pretty much also about automation, because the variety of technologies in use, the variety of exposure, and the possibility of different existence of different threats is huge. So automation of different aspects of security is really important. Security testing, end-to-end visibility, policy enforcement, and so on. This is all important, and only solid, weighted, and planned strategy and approach will help to achieve good results without wasting too much time and resources, without getting any specific goal.
Perfect. I think today we provided pretty huge bunch of information for your valuable audience. Still, I think if not yet, you can write now, starting asking questions in the chat. And this is probably all from us. Maybe Dmitry can say a few last words. But anyway, for myself, I learn something from Dmitry, even today. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. What to say? We are really glad to be here. We are really glad to do this recording. Sorry if we were a little bit slow, dumb, or anything like this, because this is the very first time we experienced this type of presentation, I would say. So, in case you have any questions, would like to get clarification, we are always here by your side. We are ready to help and explain, so do not hesitate to contact us immediately right now in the chat, or whatever technology will be used during the standoff, and simply write us using these emails. So thank you very much, colleagues, for your time. I hope you like this presentation. Take care and have a good day.
Thank you.